The meeting room fell silent when Raven walked through the door. 12 different alien species sat around the curved table, their conversation dying mid-sentence. Some made strange clicking sounds. Others began to shake. The tall blue Vorthans immediately pressed themselves against the far wall. Ambassador Kira from the Melodian delegation was the first to find her voice. "This cannot be real," she whispered. Her normally melodic tone cracked with fear. "Deathworlders are extinct. Everyone knows this." Raven pulled out an empty chair and sat down slowly. She kept her movements calm and deliberate. Every pair of alien eyes watched her like she might explode at any moment. The fear in the room was thick enough to touch. "I apologize for being late," Raven said in perfect galactic standard. Her voice was steady and polite. Traffic was heavy coming in from the outer systems. The Zentorian delegate made a choking sound. His forearms trembled as he reached for his emergency beacon. "Security," he gasped into his communicator. "We have a situation in Council Chamber 7. Security is aware," came the reply. "Agent Raven has proper clearance for this meeting." The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Finn, the elderly historian from Altair, leaned forward with wide eyes. His normally calm demeanor cracked. "But the records," he stammered. "Your homeworld was destroyed. The stellar collision happened 300 years ago. We celebrated the end of the Deathworld threat." Raven nodded calmly. "Earth is gone, yes. But not all humans lived on Earth when it happened. Some of us had already spread to other worlds. Quiet worlds. Peaceful places where we could live without causing fear." The crystal-based Luminari representative began flashing urgent red patterns. Their species communicated through light, and right now they were screaming for help in brilliant crimson bursts. Other delegates fumbled for their translation devices. "You have been hiding," Ambassador Kira said. "It was not a question. We have been living," Raven corrected gently. "Working, learning, watching." The word "watching" sent a wave of terror through the room. The Aquarian delegate actually fell from his moisture chair in shock. Water splashed across the floor as he scrambled backward. "Watching us." "Der Findimendid." His academic curiosity battled with ancient fears. "For how long?" "Since the beginning," Raven replied. "We never left the galaxy. We just stepped back, let you build your civilization without our interference." The Vorthan delegate finally fainted. His massive bulk hit the floor with a thud that shook the room. None of his companions moved to help him. They were too busy staring at the human. "The legends," whispered the delegate from the Spiral Arm Collective. "Are they true? Did your species really tame the void beasts? Did you survive on worlds that would kill us in minutes?" Raven tilted her head slightly. "What legends?" "The stories say humans could bond with creatures that would devour starships," Dr. Finn said slowly. "That you lived on worlds with gravity strong enough to crush our bones. That you breathed poison and drank acid." A small smile crossed Raven's face. "We lived on a challenging world, yes. It made us adaptable. We learned to understand dangerous things instead of just fearing them." "Understanding does not make something less dangerous," the Zentorian snapped. "Your species was classified as a galactic threat for good reason." "Was it?" Raven asked quietly. "Or was it classified as a threat because we were different?" The question hung in the air. Around the table, various species shifted uncomfortably. Many of their ancestors had been part of the original classification protocols. The decision to label humans as inherently dangerous had been made before any real contact was established. "You could have revealed yourselves at any time," Ambassador Kira said carefully. "Why now?" Raven leaned back in her chair. "Because the galaxy is changing. New threats are emerging. Old problems are getting worse. We think it might be time to stop watching and start helping." "Helping?" The Zentorian's voice rose to a squeak. "Deathworlders do not help. They conquer. They destroy. They dominate." "Do we?" Raven asked. She gestured around the room. "I've been sitting here for 10 minutes. How many of you have I conquered?" The delegates exchanged nervous glances. They had expected violence, aggression, demands for submission. Instead, they found a calm woman asking reasonable questions. "This could be a trick," the Aquarian delegate called out from his position on the floor. Deathworlders are known for their cunning. Everything is a trick if you are afraid enough, Raven observed. But I'm not here to trick anyone. I am here to make an offer. What kind of offer? Dr. Finn asked. His scholarly instincts were overriding his fear. Raven stood up slowly. Half the delegates recoiled, but she simply walked to the large viewing window. Outside, the peaceful trade routes of the inner systems stretched into the distance. Ships moved in orderly patterns, following regulations that had kept the peace for generations. A very simple one, she said without turning around. Let's help you keep all of this safe. The room erupted in frightened chatter. Multiple species began talking at once, their translation devices struggling to keep up. Through it all, Raven stood quietly at the window, waiting for them to decide if they were brave enough to listen. Dr. Finn activated his personal archive with shaking hands. The holographic display filled the center of the table with ancient records. Symbols and data streams flowed past as he searched for files that had not been accessed in centuries. Here, he whispered, his voice trembling. The original threat assessments. Images appeared showing massive creatures with teeth like starship hulls. Your species bonded with void serpents, creatures that could swallow our largest vessels whole. Raven studied the images calmly. Daisy was gentle once you understood her needs, she said simply. She just wanted her space respected. The casual way she referred to a legendary monster by a pet name sent chills through every delegate present. Ambassador Kira gripped her chair arms so tightly her knuckles turned purple. Gentle. The Zentorian's voice cracked. That creature destroyed 3 battle fleets. After those fleets invaded her nesting grounds, Raven replied. She was protecting her young. Any parent would do the same. Dr. Finn scrolled through more records. Environmental data appeared showing worlds with crushing gravity, toxic atmospheres, and radiation levels that would kill most species instantly. These are your colony worlds, he said in disbelief. Places where our people would die in seconds. Places where we learned patience, Raven corrected. Every harsh environment teaches you something valuable. Ice worlds teach you to conserve energy. High-gravity worlds teach you to be efficient. Toxic atmospheres teach you to pay attention to details. The Aquarian delegate had managed to climb back into his moisture chair. The records say humans could survive anywhere, he said fearfully. That you adapted to every environment in the galaxy. Raven shrugged. We learned to listen to what each world was trying to teach us. Instead of fighting the environment, we worked with it. But the disappearances, Ambassador Kira said suddenly. Ships that vanished in the Outer Rim. Colonies that went silent. We always blamed pirates or natural disasters. Some are natural disasters, Raven acknowledged. Some are pirates, but some are rescue missions. The room went dead silent. Dr. Finn stopped scrolling through his files. Rescue missions? The Helix colony disaster, for example, Raven said. Official records claim solar flares killed everyone. The truth is we evacuated them before the flares hit. Moved them to safer worlds. Let them start over with new identities. Why? The question came from multiple delegates at once. Because they deserve to live, Raven said simply. Because someone needed to help, and we could help without anyone knowing we existed. Dr. Finn frantically searched through disaster records. The Kythera mining station explosion. The Outer Spiral plague outbreak. The Crystal Falls evacuation. His eyes widened with each file. All of these show impossible survival rates. Nothing impossible about it, Raven said. Just people helping people. The Luminari representative flashed a rapid series of blue and white patterns. Their translator worked overtime to keep up. They want to know how many times you have intervened, Ambassador Kira said after reading the translation. Raven considered the question. Do you really want that answer? Yes, Dr. Finn said immediately, his historian's curiosity overcoming his fear. In the past 50 years alone, we have prevented 14 wars, stopped 6 plague outbreaks, evacuated 12 doomed colonies, and neutralized 7 pirate fleets. Raven's voice remained calm and factual. We have also established safe houses for political refugees, provided medical aid to remote worlds, and maintained emergency supply caches throughout the galaxy. The delegates stared at her in stunned silence. The peaceful civilization they thought they had built was apparently only possible because of constant human intervention. The trade route security improvements, the Zentorian said slowly. The sudden decrease in piracy. The mysterious medical advances. All human work, Raven confirmed. We have been your silent guardians for 3 centuries. Ambassador Kira found her voice first. Why reveal this now? You could have continued indefinitely. Because hiding is becoming impossible, Raven replied. The galaxy is facing new challenges. Threats that require open cooperation instead of shadow work. And because it is time for the truth. Dr. Finn leaned forward. What kind of threats? Raven hesitated for the first time since entering the room. Something is coming from outside the galaxy. Our long-range scouts have detected ships using technology we do not recognize. They will arrive within 2 years. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. An external threat was every species' worst nightmare. How do you know this? The Zentorian demanded. Because humans never stopped exploring, Raven said. We have scouts in every dark corner of space. We monitor everything that might threaten the peaceful worlds. You have been spying on us for centuries, the Aquarian accused. We have been protecting you for centuries, Raven corrected firmly. There is a difference. Ambassador Kira stood up slowly. Prove it. Prove what? Prove that humans are protectors instead of conquerors. Show us something that will convince the Council to trust you. Raven nodded. What would you like to see? The detention level, Dr. Finn said suddenly. There's a creature there that has injured 3 medical teams. Something so dangerous we plan to destroy it tomorrow. If humans are truly as gentle as you claim, help that creature. The other delegates looked at the historian in horror. He was asking a Deathworlder to interact with something that had already proven too dangerous for their best medical teams. What kind of creature? Raven asked. Avoid serpent. Der finriploid. Young one, but still large enough to crush a shuttle. It has been an agony for days. Nothing we do helps. Raven stood up. Show me. As the delegates reluctantly led her toward the detention levels, whispered conversations broke out behind them. They were about to watch a human interact with one of the galaxy's most feared predators. Either they would witness a miracle, or they would need a very good cleanup crew. The detention level hummed with contained energy fields and security barriers. Warning lights flashed red along every corridor, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with danger. The delegates huddled together as they walked, staying as far from the containment cells as possible. The creature is in maximum security cell 7, Dr. Finn explained nervously. We had to use military-grade restraints after it injured the medical teams. Through the reinforced viewing window, they could see the void serpent. It was smaller than the legendary adults, only about the size of a shuttle, but its dark scales still gleamed with the same deadly beauty that had terrified spacers for millennia. The creature thrashed weakly against its restraints, making low, keening sounds that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Beautiful, Raven said softly. The delegates looked at her as if she had gone insane. The Zentorian backed away another step. Beautiful? That thing nearly killed Dr. Morris yesterday. It is in pain, Raven observed, studying the creature's movements. Look at how it favors its left side. See the way it keeps touching its head to the wall. This is not aggression. This is suffering. Dr. Finn consulted his medical scanner. Our teams ran every test available. Physically, the creature appears healthy. All biological functions are normal. Did they scan for parasites? Of course they did, the Zentorian snapped. We are not amateurs. What about empathic parasites? Raven asked. Creatures that feed on emotional energy? The medical team leader, a 6-armed healer named Dr. Wells, shook his head. Empathic parasites are theoretical. No confirmed cases exist in any medical database. Raven turned to study the serpent again. Your species all communicate differently. Sound waves, light patterns, chemical signals. But this creature communicates through emotional resonance. If something is interfering with that ability, it would be like cutting off your voices. The serpent's keening grew louder, and several delegates winced. The sound seemed to reach into their minds and twist something deep inside. I want to examine it, Raven said. Absolutely not, Dr. Wells declared. The containment field is the only thing keeping us safe. That creature could kill everyone on this level. It could, Raven agreed. But it will not. How can you possibly know that? Because it is asking for help. Raven moved closer to the viewing window. The serpent immediately focused on her, its massive eyes locking onto her face. Listen to the sound it makes. That is not a hunting call or a threat display. It is a distress call. Ambassador Kira stepped forward reluctantly. Even if you are correct, how could you possibly help it? Our best medical teams have failed. Your best medical teams tried to treat it like any other patient, Raven replied. But void serpents are not like other creatures. They form deep emotional bonds with their environment. If something is wrong with its empathic connection, you need to treat it differently. Dr. Finn was already accessing medical databases on his portable scanner. There are references here to emotional symbiosis in void serpents. Old research, mostly dismissed as folklore. Not folklore, Raven said firmly. Truth. Void serpents share their emotional state with everything around them. When they are healthy, they spread calm and contentment. When they are sick, they spread pain and confusion. That would explain why the medical teams became agitated during treatment, Dr. Wells mused. But how do you treat an empathic infection? First, you have to be willing to share the creature's pain, Raven said. Most species cannot tolerate that level of emotional feedback, but humans can. The Zentorian made a disgusted noise. Deathworlder arrogance. You think you are superior to everyone. Not superior, Raven corrected. Just different. Humans evolved to read emotional states accurately. We had to, in order to work together on a dangerous world. We can handle emotional feedback that would overwhelm other species. She moved to the containment field controls. I need you to lower the barrier. Insane, Dr. Wells muttered. Completely insane. Dr. Finn, Raven said calmly. You wanted proof that humans are protectors rather than destroyers. This is your proof. Either trust me or spend the rest of your lives wondering if you made the right choice. The elderly historian looked around at his colleagues. Fear warred with curiosity in his eyes. Finally, scientific interest won. Lower the field, he ordered. I protest this action, the Zentorian announced for the record. When this goes wrong, remember that I advised against it. The energy barrier flickered and died. Immediately, waves of anguish washed over everyone present. The serpent's emotional pain hit them like a physical force, driving several delegates to their knees. Raven walked calmly into the containment cell. The waves of agony that were crippling the others seemed to barely affect her. She approached the massive creature slowly, her hands empty and visible. Easy, she said in a gentle voice. I know it hurts. Let me help. The serpent stopped thrashing and watched her approach. Its emotional broadcast shifted slightly, confusion mixing with the pain. Raven knelt beside the creature's massive head and placed one hand on its scales. Show me where it hurts, she whispered. The serpent's response was immediate. Images flooded Raven's mind, shared through the empathic connection. She saw the creature's capture, its separation from its clutchmates, and something else. Something small and dark that had attached itself to the serpent's empathic center. There, Raven said, pointing to a spot behind the creature's left eye. There is something there that does not belong. Dr. Wells reluctantly approached with a scanner. When he focused on the indicated area, his expression changed completely. Impossible, he breathed. There is definitely something there. Something that was not visible on our previous scans. Empathic parasites hide in emotional static, Raven explained. You cannot find them unless you can connect with the host's emotional state. Working together, the human and the alien doctor carefully removed a tiny creature that looked like a crystalline spider. The moment it was gone, the serpent's emotional broadcast changed completely. Waves of gratitude and relief replaced the agony. The creature began to sing. It was a sound like distant stars, beautiful and haunting. Everyone in the room felt their fear melting away, replaced by a deep sense of peace and contentment. Magnificent, der fin vispert. I had no idea they could do that. Raven scratched the serpent gently behind its eye ridges. Most people never get the chance to find out. The void serpent continued its gentle song as the delegates slowly processed what they had witnessed. The creature that had terrorized medical teams for days now radiated contentment and peace. Several delegates found themselves relaxing for the first time since Raven had entered their meeting. "This changes everything," Dr. Wells said quietly. His scanner showed normal readings across all of the serpent's biological systems. "In 30 years of medicine, I have never seen anything like this." Raven remained beside the creature, her hand resting on its scales. "Humans see patterns that others miss," she explained. "Not because we are smarter, but because we evolved to recognize emotional states quickly. On Earth, understanding what a predator was feeling could mean the difference between life and death. But the legends," Ambassador Kira said weakly, "the stories about humans conquering and destroying, written by people who never met us," Raven replied. "Your ancestors saw creatures from a harsh world and assumed we would be harsh ourselves. They never bothered to find out who we really were." Dr. Finn was recording everything on his personal scanner. "The historical implications are staggering," he muttered. "We need to completely revise our understanding of galactic development." The Zentorian delegate had retreated to the far corner of the room, but even he could not deny what he was seeing. If humans have been helping secretly, why is the galaxy still full of problems? Why do we still have wars and diseases and suffering? Raven looked up from the serpent. "Because some problems can only be solved by people working together openly. Because some lessons have to be learned rather than taught. Because hiding in shadows has limits." "Give us examples," Ambassador Kira demanded. "Prove that human intervention has made a real difference." "The Traitor War of 2387, Raven said immediately. "Official records show it ended when both sides ran out of resources. The truth is that human operatives convinced the children of both military leaders to meet in secret. Those children fell in love and united their families." Dr. Finn checked his historical files. The war did end unusually quickly, and there was an unexpected royal marriage that year. "The Crimson Plague outbreak on Vega 7, Raven continued. "Your medical teams could not find a cure. Human researchers discovered the disease was actually a beneficial symbiont that had been corrupted by industrial pollutants. Clean up the environment, cure the plague. The missing colony ship Endeavor," she added. "Lost in a stellar storm, according to your records. We found them trapped in a gravitational anomaly and spent 2 years carefully extracting them. All 5,000 colonists were relocated to suitable worlds." With each example, the delegates looked more stunned. Their peaceful civilization had apparently been maintained by constant human intervention. "Why?" the Aquarian delegate asked. "Why help species that fear and hate you?" "Because fear and hate are not permanent conditions," Raven replied. "They can be healed just like any other wound. And because every species has something valuable to offer." She gestured around the room. "The Melodians gave us music that can heal emotional trauma. The Vorthans taught us mathematics that helped us navigate impossible space. The Aquarians showed us how to grow food in hostile environments. Every species we helped also helped us in return, whether they knew it or not." The serpent shifted slightly, wrapping one coil gently around Raven's arm. The gesture was clearly affectionate rather than threatening. "The real question," Raven said, "is whether you are ready to stop being afraid and start working together openly." "What exactly are you proposing?" Ambassador Kira asked. "Integration," Raven said simply. "Humans take our place as a member species of the Galactic Council. We stop working in shadows and start working in the open. We share our knowledge and abilities freely." "In exchange for what?" the Zentorian asked suspiciously. "Nothing," Raven replied. "We do not want territory or resources or power. We want to continue doing what we have always done, just without having to hide." Dr. Wells shook his head. It sounds too good to be true. There must be a catch. There is, Raven acknowledged. Once we reveal ourselves fully, we cannot go back to hiding. If this partnership fails, if the other species decide we are too dangerous, there will be nowhere left for humans to retreat to. The weight of that admission settled over the room. Humans were offering complete vulnerability in exchange for acceptance. You would risk extinction for the chance to help openly. Ambassador Kira asked. We would risk extinction to do what is right, Raven corrected. We have been guardians for 3 centuries. We would like to continue being guardians for 3 more. The serpent's song changed, becoming deeper and more complex. Other voices answered from distant parts of the station. Every void serpent in the facility was responding to their friend's call of contentment. They're telling each other that help has arrived, Raven translated. That the pain is over and healing can begin. Dr. Finn looked around at his colleagues. Perhaps we should listen to their advice. An emergency alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Red lights flashed as the station's communication system activated. All council members report to emergency command immediately, the automated voice announced. We have multiple incoming distress signals from the outer rim. A plague ship is requesting emergency assistance. Raven stood up immediately, giving the serpent one final gentle touch. How far out? 3 hours at maximum approach speed, Dr. Finn replied, checking his scanner. Medical teams are already mobilizing. What kind of plague? Raven asked. Unknown pathogen, came the reply. Mortality rate approaching 100%. They have lost 60% of their passengers already. Raven looked around the room at the frightened delegates. This is the choice, she said quietly. Let us help, or watch thousands die while you debate whether humans can be trusted. The silence stretched for a long moment. Finally, Ambassador Kira stood up. What do you need? Emergency command buzzed with frantic activity. Technicians monitored incoming signals while medical teams prepared for the worst. The main display showed a battered refugee ship limping through space, its hull scarred by whatever disaster had forced its passengers to flee their homeworld. Status report, Ambassador Kira demanded as she entered with the other delegates. Commander Hayes, the station's military leader, looked grim. Refugee ship Sanctuary, carrying 8,000 passengers from the Kepler massacre. They picked up a pathogen during their escape. Initial symptoms appeared mild, but it is spreading faster than their medical bay can handle. What kind of pathogen? Dr. Wells asked, already pulling up medical protocols on his scanner. Unknown, Commander Hayes replied. Nothing in our database matches the symptoms. Starts with mild fatigue, progresses to complete system failure within hours. The death rate is accelerating. Dr. Finn studied the incoming data streams. They have lost almost half their population in just 2 days. At this rate, the ship will be empty before we can get them to a medical facility. What about quarantine protocols? The Zentorian demanded. We cannot risk contaminating the station. Already in place, Commander Hayes confirmed. But quarantine will not help them. They need treatment, not isolation. Raven stepped forward. I want to board that ship. Every head in the room turned to stare at her. Commander Hayes looked like she had suggested jumping into a star. Absolutely not, Dr. Wells declared. We have no idea what this pathogen does to humans. You could be walking into a death trap, or I could be walking into a situation where human abilities can make a difference, Raven replied calmly. Humans have strong immune systems and high resistance to most biological threats. Most biological threats, the Zentorian repeated. Not all, and definitely not unknown threats. People are dying, Raven said simply. While we debate the risks, children are watching their parents die. Parents are watching their children suffer. Someone has to try to help. Ambassador Kira looked conflicted. Even if we agreed, what could one person accomplish that an entire medical team cannot? I would not be going alone, Raven said. I would be going with Dr. Sam. The delegates looked confused. Who is Dr. Sam? Dr. Finn asked. Another human, Raven replied. A medical specialist currently stationed on the outer rim. She can reach us in 2 hours. The room erupted in panic. The Zentorian actually fell over backward. Another one? How many of you are there? Enough, Raven said without elaborating. Dr. Sam has experience with unknown pathogens and emergency medicine. Together, we might be able to find a solution that your teams missed. Commander Hayes shook her head. I cannot authorize civilians to board a plague ship. The liability alone would end my career. Then do not authorize it, Raven suggested. Let's go as volunteers. If we die, is our choice. If we succeed, thousands of lives are saved. And if you fail and somehow spread the plague to the station, the Zentorian asked, then you destroy the ship with all of us aboard, Raven replied matter-of-factly. The same plan you're probably already considering. The uncomfortable silence that followed confirmed her guess. Command had indeed been discussing worst-case scenarios. 2 hours, Dr. Wells said slowly. That is how long before their medical team estimates complete population loss. Dr. Sam can be here in 90 minutes, Raven offered. We could be boarding the ship within 2 hours. Ambassador Kira looked around at her colleagues. Opinions? Madness, the Zentorian muttered. Absolute madness. Calculated risk, Dr. Finn countered. If humans really have been protecting us for centuries, they must have dealt with biological threats before. The alternative is watching 8,000 people die, the Aquarian delegate added quietly. At least this gives them a chance. Commander Hayes pulled up tactical displays. Even if I approved this insane plan, how would you get aboard safely? Our shuttle pilots refuse to approach a plague ship. I can pilot the shuttle myself, Raven said. Standard galactic shuttles are not difficult to operate. You know how to fly our ships? Dr. Wells asked in surprise. I know how to fly everyone's ships, Raven replied. 3 centuries of observation taught us many useful skills. The main communication screen flickered to life. A desperate-looking captain appeared, her fur matted with sweat and her eyes filled with exhaustion. Harmony Station, this is Captain Torres of the refugee ship Sanctuary, she said weakly. We have lost over 4,000 passengers. Our medical team is down to 3 people. Please, if there is anything you can do, the signal cut to static. Emergency klaxons blared as the ship's automated systems took over. They just lost main communications, a technician reported. Life support is failing on multiple decks. Raven turned to Ambassador Kira. Choose now. Let's try to save them or watch them all die while following protocols. Ambassador Kira closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them, her expression was resolute. Commander Hayes, prepare a shuttle for immediate departure. I want that on record as being against my strong recommendation, Commander Hayes said firmly. Noted, Ambassador Kira replied. Dr. Wells, what medical supplies should they take? Everything, Dr. Wells said grimly. Broad-spectrum antibiotics, antivirals, immune boosters, anything that might help. Though if this pathogen is truly unknown, we will figure it out, Raven said confidently. Humans are very good at solving problems under pressure. The Zentorian stood up abruptly. I am filing a formal protest with the Galactic Council. This decision is reckless and endangers the entire sector. File all the protests you want, Ambassador Kira replied. But do it after we see if these humans can save 8,000 lives. As alarms continued to blare and technicians scrambled to prepare emergency equipment, Raven walked calmly toward the shuttle bay. In 90 minutes, she would either prove that humans belonged in galactic civilization or die trying. Behind her, the delegates watched her go with a mixture of fear, hope, and the growing realization that their peaceful galaxy was about to change forever. Dr. Sam arrived exactly when promised, docking her small ship with practiced efficiency. She was shorter than Raven, with graying hair and steady hands that spoke of decades of medical experience. The delegates watched nervously as the 2 humans conferred over medical scanners and supply lists. Ready? Raven asked. Always, Sam replied, shouldering a pack filled with medical equipment. What are we dealing with? Unknown pathogen, high mortality rate, rapid progression, Raven summarized as they walked toward the shuttle. The refugees' own medical team is overwhelmed. Sam nodded. Sounds like a cascade failure rather than a simple infection. Something is breaking down their natural defenses. The shuttle bay was eerily quiet except for the hum of life support systems. Commander Hayes stood at the observation window, watching the plague ship struggle through space. Its running lights flickered weakly, and debris trailed from damaged sections of hull. "Last chance to reconsider," she told the humans. "No need," Raven replied, settling into the pilot's seat. "We will be back with good news." The shuttle launched smoothly, crossing the dangerous space between the station and the dying ship. Through the viewports, the delegates could see the sanctuary up close. Entire sections were dark, and the few windows that still showed light revealed glimpses of chaos inside. "Life signs are fading across multiple decks," Dr. Wells reported, monitoring from the station. "They have maybe 30 minutes before complete system collapse." The shuttle docked with the sanctuary's emergency port. Raven and Sam suited up in protective gear before entering the contaminated ship. Their helmet cameras fed live video back to the watching delegates. The first thing they encountered was the smell. Even through their suits' filters, something was wrong. The air itself seemed thick and poisonous. "Environmental contamination," Sam observed, checking her scanner. "The pathogen is not just affecting people. It is breaking down the ship's atmosphere processors." They moved through empty corridors lined with bodies. Families huddled together in their final moments, parents shielding children who would never grow up. The sight was heartbreaking, but both humans kept their emotions controlled and professional. "Medical Bay is this way," Raven said, following emergency signs. They passed more bodies, more tragedy, more evidence of a disaster beyond normal medical response. The medical bay was a scene of controlled chaos. 3 exhausted alien doctors worked frantically over the few patients still clinging to life. Captain Torres lay on one of the beds, barely conscious but still trying to coordinate rescue efforts. "Who are you?" demanded Dr. Price, the chief medical officer. His hands shook from exhaustion and fear. "Help," Sam said simply, immediately moving to examine the nearest patient. "What treatments have you tried?" "Everything," Dr. Price replied desperately. "Antivirals, antibiotics, immune boosters, cellular repair accelerators. Nothing works. The pathogen adapts faster than we can treat it." Sam's scanner beeped as she took readings. "This is not a pathogen," she said suddenly. "What do you mean?" Dr. Price asked. "Look at the progression pattern," Sam explained, showing her scanner to Raven. "This is not an infection. This is poisoning." Raven studied the data. Compound poisoning. Multiple toxins working together to overwhelm natural defenses. "But how?" Dr. Price demanded. "We scanned everything when we evacuated. No toxic materials were brought aboard." "What about the evacuation site?" Sam asked. "Where exactly did you pick up the refugees?" Captain Torres struggled to sit up. "Mining station, Alpha Centauri, chemical processing facility." Sam and Raven exchanged looks. "Chemical processing creates industrial waste," Raven said. "Waste that can combine in unexpected ways." "The refugees were exposed during evacuation," Sam continued. "Multiple compounds absorbed through skin contact, breathing contaminated water. Each compound harmless alone, lethal in combination." "But why did it take so long to manifest?" Dr. Price asked. "Cascade failure," Sam explained. "The toxins needed time to build up in their systems. Once they reached critical mass, everything broke down at once." Dr. Wells's voice crackled through their communicators. "Can you treat it?" "Yes," Sam said immediately, "but not with standard medical protocols. We need to treat each toxin separately, in sequence, allowing the body to process them one at a time." She began pulling compounds from her medical kit that the alien doctors had never seen before. "Human emergency medicine includes treatments for industrial poisoning," she explained as she worked. "Our homeworld had a lot of toxic environments." The first patient began responding within minutes. Color returned to his skin, and his breathing stabilized. Dr. Price watched in amazement as Sam moved from patient to patient, administering treatments that seemed to work like magic. "How did you know?" he asked. "Pattern recognition," Raven replied, helping to treat Captain Torres. Humans evolved to identify multiple threats simultaneously. We had to, in order to survive. Plus experience, Sam added. We have dealt with cascade poisoning before. Industrial accidents, environmental disasters, chemical weapons. Unfortunately, humans have seen every possible way that toxins can combine. Within an hour, every surviving patient was stable and improving. The medical bay, which had been a scene of despair, now hummed with hope and recovery. The air processors, Captain Torres asked weakly. Already working on it, Raven replied. She had connected her scanner to the ship's environmental systems. The toxins were corrupting the atmospheric filters, flushing the system now. Dr. Price sat down heavily, overwhelmed by relief. 4,000 people died because we did not recognize cascade poisoning. 4,000 died, Sam said gently. But 4,000 lived because you kept trying. That matters too. The shuttle trip back to Harmony Station was quiet. Both humans were exhausted, but their mission had succeeded beyond anyone's hopes. As they docked, the entire council delegation waited for them. Ambassador Kira stepped forward first. The ship? She asked. Safe, Raven replied. All survivors are stable and recovering. The sanctuary can continue to a proper medical facility for full treatment. How? Dr. Wells demanded. Our best teams failed completely. Different experience, different solutions, Sam said simply. Humans have dealt with this type of emergency before. Ambassador Kira looked around at her colleagues. I believe we have our answer. She activated the council's formal recording system. Let the record show that by unanimous vote of the emergency session, humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council. The Zentorian started to object, then stopped. Even he could not argue with results. Welcome to Galactic Civilization, Ambassador Kira told the two humans. We are honored to have you as partners. We are honored to finally come home, Raven replied. As news of humanity's integration spread across the galaxy, long-hidden human colonies began revealing themselves. Ships emerged from secret bases, carrying doctors, engineers, teachers, and protectors who had spent centuries working in shadows. The galaxy had gained more than new members. It had gained guardians who would ensure that no ship would face disaster alone, no colony would suffer in silence, and no species would be abandoned to face the unknown darkness of space. The age of fear was over. The age of cooperation had begun.